Alex Stone. I am on a mission to spread the light of the gospel into every aspect of life. And yes, you heard me correctly. I did say every, including the things that most Christians do not like to discuss, such as politics. We are living in the 21st century in which we have a crisis that relates to gender ideology, feminism, manhood, even. And here to talk about that today is a very special guest that I've had on a couple times. She works for Turning Point USA, and she travels across the United States, has the opportunity to meet and talk to all kinds of people on the spectrum of whether they're gay, whether they're straight, whether they're Christian, whether they're atheist. She talks to everybody and really tries to inspire young women, especially, to be leaders. And we're also going to be talking about the Young Women's Leadership Summit that is coming up for Turning Point USA here on June 13th through 15th, coming up very soon. I'm, of course, not going to be there because I'm very obviously not a woman, but she will be there, and she is one of the most inspiring women that you may ever find. Her name is Morgonn McMichael. We're going to go to her in just a second. But before we do, watch this.
Alex Stone.
Alex Stone.
Alex Stone.
Alex Stone. I want to point out my adopted nephew, Alex Stone.
He's the host of the Alex Stone Show, and I'm pretty sure he's related to my good friend Roger Stone. That's his uncle, Alex Stone. First time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Morgonn McMichael to talk to us about Young Women's Leadership Summit and really how to inspire young women to be better leaders in their community, in their homes, even in their churches, wherever it may be, for them to be inspired to be better leaders. Morgonn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Alex, for having me back on. And hello, everybody. I'm super excited to be here and just talk about, femininity, not feminism, not to be confused with what the left promotes as being pro-women. I think it's a very important topic, especially now in our country, especially as I think women are turning more towards conservative values and realizing that the lies of feminism and the lies of the left are not actually helping them and never were there to help them. So I'm super excited to talk about that and YWLS that is coming up, which I will be there.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very happy to have you on. You've been on my show a couple of times. You've always been a great guest and a great person to have on to talk about these issues that we're facing in the United States of America, like you said, of feminism and what the left is pushing. And of course, we're going to be talking about that. But before we do, could you tell my audience a little bit about you and who you are and what you're about?
Yeah. So my name is Morgonn. I've been a part of the Turning Point USA family now for over 3 years. And before that, I was a student, just a college student who was conservative and was being canceled for her beliefs. So a big part of my story is, combating cancel culture with the truth and not backing down to what the woke normal is, and instead standing on your faithfulness of, what is God's truth and spreading absolute truth in our communities, not just because it's likable right now. I feel like it's really trendy and cool to be a conservative, which is so crazy because in 2016 and 2020, it definitely was not cool to be a conservative. So, when I got into politics in 2016 and 2020, it was really a huge, no pun intended, turning point for me. And I've just continued to press on the truth of talking about women and how women can be involved in politics, being a leader, what that looks like. And through that, I've had the opportunity of traveling across the country to different high schools and colleges across the country and interviewing, doing man on the street content with Turning Point USA and really getting a plethora of views. I always say, we have the right and the left's echo chamber, but it's my goal to just hear the perspectives on all sides and every sides and really push back and see what the pulse is on Gen Z. What are Gen Z college students really thinking outside of the crazy debates that we see all the time?
Sure. And I think it's interesting. You probably know the pulse of Gen Z more than I do because you are out talking to them, like you said, with man on the street. I guess I'd say woman on the street with you. What is Gen Z saying? What are they saying to you? What are they thinking right now?
Post election, it's really interesting because I think there's a large part of Gen Z that is very excited about the current administration and moving forward for our country. They're concerned about housing prices, they're concerned about inflation, they're concerned about getting a job, especially in this market. But lately, I've actually been hearing that the number one concern for a lot of young people is AI in regards to the job market. Is there's a lot of young people who feel like college degrees are becoming more and more worthless because going into a field that can be very soon fully automated. So I just thought that was interesting kind of coin flip from a couple of years ago where a lot of Gen Zers were concerned more about inflation or student debt. Lately, I've been hearing a lot more kids concerned about AI. But then kind of the normal is a lot of Gen Z, I feel like, is pushing back against cancel culture and the social media norms of what we used to see being canceled on the internet. Now conservative content is free to live on TikTok, on Instagram. Not a lot of censorship has been going on lately. And because of those free voices that are happening, there's a lot more Gen Zers that are starting to see that more right-wing content. So it's interesting when I talk to liberal college students that they're like, I keep seeing right-wing content all over my TikTok that was never there before. And then when I talk to conservatives, they're like, yes, finally, it's so exciting that our content isn't getting banned and that I can actually watch videos that I want to see. So it's really this interesting paradigm shift that has happened, I think, over the last not just 4 years, but 8 years of seeing how social media really has changed, not just the election game, but also the thinking of Gen Z.
I think I would certainly agree with you. I remember 8 years ago, or maybe even 9 or 10 years ago, even when everyone was talking about the silent majority this, the silent majority that. It's okay, we have the silent majority. I think that's totally flipped. We don't have the silent majority anymore. We have the loud majority. I think we're very loud. I think we're very proud about what we think, what we believe. We don't have to be scared anymore because I think President Trump has made politics into like a cultural phenomenon, and Generation Z is realizing that. I think Charlie Kirk also has a role to play in that as well, traveling across the United States, going to college campuses, talking to college students face to face about the issues. And I think it's inspiring a lot of people. I think it's changing a lot of people's minds. I was at a Charlie Kirk event a few months ago. It was phenomenal. Hundreds of people were there. And then a couple months ago, I think, or I guess even last month, I was actually with Turning Point contributor Bo Diddle at K State or excuse me, KU for a Riley Gaines event. And there were more people that were there for Riley than there were protesting. I think it's very exciting and very interesting. I want to talk about the feminist kind of thing that we see going on in the United States. Obviously, we've talked about the loud majority that we have, but there's also this. I guess I'd put it as a pest, a pest in the side, a thorn in the side, if you will, of this feminist movement of people who really hate everything, are always sad, or always sorrowful. Why? Well, just why?
Unfortunately, women have a lot to do in the political world. We have a lot of work to do in the women's sphere because, we saw Gen Z have a great shift. We're no longer the silent majority, we're the loud majority, which is great. There's millions of conservatives in our country. But unfortunately, when you look at the statistics for women, they're not moving as much to the right. And I do believe that we have feminism to blame for that. Instead, they're sold, hey, go to college, get a job. And unfortunately, on social media, I want to highlight two things. Is you're seeing the comparison of the more trad wife movement. It's almost the glorification of stay-at-home mothers, which I use that word because that is what the feminists see it as. It's like, this is not what real womanhood looks like. This is what oppressive womanhood looks like, which is not true. And then on the other side, you see the hyper feminist content saying we need to reject all pro women atmospheres almost. And like, if you don't agree with the feminist movement wholeheartedly, then you're anti woman, which is actually kind of the opposite. So you see this like super broad spectrum of what is pro woman and what isn't. And what I find so interesting about these videos is I feel like the ones on the left are more harmful to women than the women who are actually just promoting what homemaking looks like. what life with her kids looks like, how she cooks for her husband, how she leads in the home under her husband. And there's so many different aspects, I feel like, of womanhood that are beautiful, that are always missed by feminists, because instead they're focusing on, to be better than that, you have to go get a job. To be better than the woman in the house, that you have to do whatever society is telling you to do. And it really is the opposite. And I saw this video of this girl, probably my age, around 25, basically saying that there was a bunch of right-wing pipelines that she had now been aware of because of social media. Like, oh, if you all of a sudden want to bake sourdough bread at home, that could be a right-wing pipeline. If you are wanting to eat clean food and use clean skincare, you may think it's very innocent, but that could be a right-wing pipeline. If you want to wear floral dresses, that could be a right-wing pipeline. And it was crazy to me to hear that all of these natural, I think, feminine things that women just enjoy to do or enjoy because they're women could be quote unquote right-wing pipelines instead of actually enjoying it. And I think social media not only are the ones pushing this, but also celebrity culture. When you look at artists, obviously, like Lorde recently came out in a Rolling Stone article talking about how she got off birth control, and she basically felt euphoric after recovering after being on birth control for years. And there's a lot of artists that are coming out lately who have been talking about more the feminist side of the arts world. And I just think it's interesting that all of a sudden getting off birth control is also like a quasi right-wing pipeline. That's what the artist Lorde said in her Rolling Stone article. And there's many other people and celebrities that have come out basically talking about how these naturally feminine things are right wing. And I remember there was another article, I think it was The Atlantic maybe, that called women, it was like skinny, fertile Republicans. And I'm like, well, what is the alternative to that? Like a fat, infertile liberal? Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to be that. So I just think it's really interesting how the media has portrayed conservative women as these oppressed, super miserable people, when in reality, it's the conservative women that are actually tapping into God's design and being feminine, just being themselves, being happy, doing what they love, and are inherently happier. So I just think it's interesting that I think a lot of these single liberal women truly have not just discovered what womanhood really looks like.
I think it's certainly very sad that these women haven't understood or picked up on or learned what womanhood looks like. I remember back, I think it was last year, maybe the year before, I think it was in 2024, where the Kansas City Chiefs kicker, Harrison Butker, was speaking to his graduating class and basically said that the best thing that a woman can do is be a homemaker. And I remember people were freaking out about that. And I was like, dang, that's my kicker for my team, Kansas City. Let's go. Why have they just not learned? Have they just not understood? Have they not heard about it? Or are they just totally ignorant and don't care about what actual womanhood is supposed to look like?
You know, I think single women are completely afraid of motherhood, to be honest, because they don't actually know the joys that will come from it because they've never experienced it. But they do experience joy right now, like incremental amounts of joy from, oh, they did great in a presentation at work, or they got a promotion, or they get to go hang out with their girlfriends at happy hour and they're all single and gossiping and like, oh, that's joy and that's fun. But Harrison Butker is absolutely correct. There is no greater joy and there's no greater gift than being a mom, actually raising the next generation and being able to foster those relationships and connect with your kids. Like, that truly is, I believe, one of the greatest gifts in life, and no one else can replace a mother. You are meant to be a mother, and women really hate hearing that. And I never really understood why, except for I think it comes down to individual selfishness, is you would rather put yourself before somebody else. You would rather, get a job. You would rather get the promotion. You would rather, just have a boyfriend, be able to do whatever you want that is self-serving for yourself instead of serving others and serving God at the end of the day. And you are directly going against what is inherently and naturally right for human beings. Women and men, we are different. We are meant to be nurturers and men are meant to be providers. And so when a woman goes against the grain on that, they, I believe, are biologically and under God, going against what they are meant to be and do. And unfortunately, the feminists don't like that because their entire movement is built off of selfishness and how they can serve themselves.
I think it certainly is selfish that they want to go for themselves rather than, what we've just mentioned, talking about motherhood and baking and everything that you just mentioned. I want to I remember listening or watching a video, a Jubilee video, where it was Dean Withers, massive TikTok debater guy. He was on there and he said that the Conservative Party isn't the party of life. And
Mm.
I was just confused and really upset by that because I would say that we very obviously are the party of life. Of course, Democrats are pro-abortion and that's very anti-life, but they're also not really even pro-mother
Mhm.
at all. Whereas conservatives, I would say, very much so are, and we have conservative Christian organizations to help with mothers who are dealing with pregnancies that are either unexpected. I wouldn't say unwanted. But unexpected for sure. We are the party of life, and we are the party that is pro women and pro
Right.
family for sure. Um, I want to talk about Young Women's Leadership Summit. Of course, it's Young Women's Leadership Summit. I think it's pretty self-explanatory about what that is. But could you tell my audience and share about what's going to happen there?
The Young Women's Leadership Summit is the biggest and the best conservative women gathering in the country. There's going to be over 3,000, maybe even 4,000 women joining. I actually went for the first time in 2021 and was so inspired and impacted that, it led me to where I am today. So I always encourage any young lady, go by yourself or grab a friend, and you will hear from some of the most impactful conservative speakers in the conservative movement. I know Brett Cooper will be there. Alex Clark will be there. I know Elaine Cardone, Grant Cardone, his wife, will be there, along with many other speakers in not just the conservative space, but also MAHA, the health and wellness space. So not only will you be learning about politics and motherhood, but you'll also be learning so much about health and wellness, especially when it comes to being a woman. That's a lot to talk about and learn about. And honestly, it is one of my favorite events every single year because it is for the girls. And politics always seems to be this more masculine industry, kind of the old boys club out on Capitol Hill making legislation. But this event really allows for like-minded women to come together and not just hear from speakers, but discuss and talk with each other. And it's not just for Christian women, it's for all women. And I just think it's honestly the best event where you can go join together, find like-mindedness, meet new people, make friends. I know that the girls that I met in 2021 are still my friends today, which is incredible. So if you guys are interested in going, you can actually get 25% off your passes if you use code Morgan. You just spell it right, Morgonn, and I will see you guys there. There's tons of vendors, activities, speakers, and also you get to dress up in pink, purple, blue flowers and just learn everything you need about being a woman. It's awesome.
I'm actually a little bit jealous because this speaker lineup is really good. You of course said Alex Clark and Riley Gaines will be there, Brett Cooper, Secretary Tulsi Gabbard, Alina Habba, Congresswoman Nancy Mace, Lee Allen Baker. I grew up watching Good Luck Charlie.
Charlie.
Um, my good friend Heidi St. John, Alexis Wilkin, all kinds of amazing women speakers are going to be there, and of course Charlie Kirk will be there as well. I do have a question for you, Morgan, because you mentioned your code. If you guys spell it right, is there like a story behind the spelling of your name?
Everyone always asks me that, and it's my mom wanted my name to be unique. It's just Morgan, but spelled with an O and two N's, and apparently it's supposed to bring me good harmony and good things and joy in life, which so far it has. So maybe it was my name, but I like to believe it was God, not just the spelling of my name.
Well, there you go. I love that. We only have a few minutes left, but you've of course been inspirational to multiple thousands and thousands and maybe even hundreds of thousands of women across the United States of America. Two of which we were talking about off air, Faith and Haley. What advice would you give to young women who are really seeking out truth, who are seeking out what it is that God has for them, or seeking to be a woman leader, what advice would you have for them?
I think my number one piece of advice is you have to find your tribe. You need a community around you that is going to support you. It is really hard and alienating to do it alone. So definitely seek out other conservatives that you can be friends with and talk to about just what you're going through, whether it's being canceled or a paper that you're writing. Just really seek community. And then also, sometimes it is uncomfortable. Most of the time it is to go against the grain. And that usually means you're doing something right. It may sound cliche, but truly you have to stick it to them, and you have to continue to push forward, because it's not just me up here that is making change. Charlie Kirk's doing a lot of work. We have a ton of great conservative voices that are out there, but each and every young girl and young man that is out there, you guys are change makers. You guys are little journalists in your own communities, and know that the impact that you're making, even if it's not a video getting 1 million views, is still making impact every single day.
Absolutely. I love that. And, that's something that I've learned that you said at the beginning, go find someone. I learned this early on. People need people. We're not meant to live life alone. We need people around us to help us, to spur us on towards righteousness and godly living. So I love that advice, and I appreciate you for sharing that on my show. Morgan, we're running out of time. Where can people find you?
Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you, Alex, for having me back on the show. If you guys want to follow me, all social media platforms, it's just MORGONN, and you will find me.
Awesome. Morgan, thank you so much for coming on my show. Guys, before you all go, if you guys go to mypillow.com and use the promo code GENZ, GENZ, all one word, you can get a discount of up to 66% off of your order. They do have a special deal right now where you can get the MyPillow 2.0. You may have the MyPillow 1, but you may not have the MyPillow 2.0. You can get that for 50% off of your order. Watch this video, and we will be right back.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
Now's the time to go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use the promo code to save 50% on your MyPillow 2.0. Not only that, for a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
mypillow.com.
MyPillow.com, use that promo code GenZ, and you can get that discount of the MyPillow 2.0 for 50% off of your order. Morgan, thank you so much once again for coming on my show. Thank you all so much for listening. God bless you all, and we'll see you guys next time.